One of the things that came up during the FBI press conference earlier today in Boston was another huge media failure that took place on this subject again today. After yesterday afternoon, all that wrong reporting from CNN and others that there was a suspect in custody, that somebody had been arrested, when that was not true at all. After that disaster yesterday, this morning we all woke up to this being the big front page headline and picture in a tabloid called the New York Post. Bagmen. Feds seek these two pictured at Boston Marathon. The New York Post splashed across its front page today a picture of this gentleman on the left with the black backpack and the white hat and the gentleman on the right in the blue jacket. I should note, in case this seems confusing, that the Post did not blur out these guys' faces. We did, to put this on the air tonight, because those two guys who the Post all but accused on their front page of perpetrating Monday's bombing, the Bagmen, these guys actually had nothing to do with it. But the New York Post put them on the front page and called them the Bagmen anyway. And the FBI addressed the fact that these men had nothing to do with the bombing at today's press conference.
There were pictures today in newspapers all over the country, including the New York Post, that identified two men as potential suspects. I'm just wondering what it does to your investigation when things like this get out and these guys are wrong.
I think I addressed that. Thank you. And I think I addressed that question in my statement by saying the only official photos that should be officially relied upon in this investigation are those you see before you today.
In other words, these guys who the New York Post put on their front page aren't the guys. The New York Post then published a little minor update later in the day showing the guy's picture again. Again, they didn't blur out the faces. We are blurring out the faces here. They published this little update later in the day. 2 men probed in Boston Marathon bombings cleared by investigators. But the Post has so far not apologized for what they did. And every print edition of that paper today all but names and pictures those 2 young men as the suspects. They are not the suspects. ABC News managed to track one of them down today. He is only 17 years old.
Everywhere I go, I just don't want to look at people. Because when they look at me, they're going to be like, oh, you just did this. How could you do that? Why would you even do that? But if you look at it, it wasn't me.
This disaster today from the New York Post comes right after the exact same paper also did this, inaccurately claiming that there was a suspect in the bombing who they said confidently was a Saudi national. That was not true either. And the New York Post has not apologized for that either. Apparently, they just do not care. The President and the First Lady spent the day in Boston today meeting with volunteers and first responders, people who were among the first to arrive on scene after the bombing on Monday. The President and First Lady also met with some of those who were injured in the attack, people who are still recovering at local hospitals in Boston. The President also spoke today at an interfaith service at Boston's Cathedral of the Holy Cross. The governor of Massachusetts, Deval Patrick, spoke at that service today. The mayor of Boston, Tom Menino, spoke at that service today. He had to push himself out of a wheelchair to stand to be able to do it as he's recovering from a broken leg. But it was President Obama himself who brought the whole crowd to its feet today, a crowd that included some of the families of the victims in a emotional and rousing speech.
I'm here today on behalf of the American people with a simple message. Every one of us has been touched by this attack on your beloved city. Every one of us stands with you. Because after all, it's our beloved city too. Boston may be your hometown, but we claim it too. I know this because there's a piece of Boston in me. You welcomed me as a young law student across the river. Welcomed Michelle, too. You welcomed me. You welcomed me during a convention when I was still a state senator and very few people could pronounce my name right. Like you, Michelle and I have walked these streets. Like you, we know these neighborhoods. And like you, in this moment of grief, we join you in saying, Boston, you're my home. For millions of us, what happened on Monday is personal. Our prayers are with the injured. so many wounded, some gravely. From their beds, some are surely watching us gather here today, and if you are, know this: as you begin this long journey of recovery, your city is with you, your Commonwealth is with you, your country is with you. We will all be with you as you learn to stand and walk and, yes, run again. Of that I have no doubt. You will run again. You will run again. Our faith in each other, our love for each other, our love for country, our common creed that cuts across whatever superficial differences there may be, that is our power. That's our strength. That's why a bomb can't beat us. That's why we don't hunker down. That's why we don't cower in fear. We carry on. We race. We strive. We build and we work and we love and we raise our kids to do the same, and we come together to celebrate life and to walk our cities and to cheer for our teams. When the Sox and Celtics and Patriots or Bruins are champions again, to the chagrin of New York and Chicago fans, the crowds will gather and watch a parade go down Boylston Street. And this time next year, on the third Monday in April, the world will return to this great American city to run harder than ever and to cheer even louder for the 118th Boston Marathon. Bet on it.
That was President Obama today in Boston. Again, further information about the two men who the FBI are now calling suspects in the Boston bombing can be found at FBI.gov. We also have links to all of the relevant pictures and video at our website, maddowblog.com. The FBI continues to ask for any and all information. They're saying no detail is too small. If you have information to share with the FBI, they ask that you call 1-800-CALL-FBI. If you dial from a cell phone now and so you don't have those numbers attached to those letters on your phone anymore, I've handedly transcribed them for you. It's 1-800-225-5324. We'll be right back.